In this series, I'll be looking at the most iconic movie posters ever made and the little-known facts behind them. So grab a proton pack and a PKE meter because today is all about Ghostbusters. This might be the most instantly recognizable poster in cinema history, but the filmmakers never intended for the now classic No Ghost logo to be used in the film's promotional campaign. As far as they were concerned, it was simply a plot element, not something that would end up splashed across thousands of posters as a crucial part of the movie's marketing. So what exactly happened? Turns out the answer is the same reason why the name Ghostbusters is nowhere to be seen here. Let's start at the beginning. In 1981, DanAykroyd decided to combine his two passions, comedy and the paranormal, into an outline for a movie titled Ghost Smashers. Set in the futuristic year of 2012, this early draft was almost totally different from the finished film, involving alien planets, parallel dimensions, an army of giant monsters, and many competing teams of Ghostbusters. Aykroyd showed the draft to his friend director Ivan Reitman, who loved the central premise of professional ghost catchers, but suggested some big changes, namely, setting the film in contemporary New York and making the heroes former college professors. Reitman brought aboard longtime collaborator Harold Ramis, and together, the three began to reshape the story. One of the ideas that survived all the way through was the No Ghost logo. Aykroyd had commissioned a friend of his to produce concept art based on the original outline. Among the various illustrations was a bedsheet ghost inside a no symbol. Reitman passed the image off to producer and graphic designer Michael C. Gross, who experimented with a few different versions, but nothing was as good as the no ghost idea. Along with artist Brent Boates, Gross modified the emblem into its final version. At some point during these early days, Reitman and Aykroyd gave that stocky ghost in the sign a playful name, Moogly, which they only used in private conversations, but has since become part of Ghostbusters lore. Interestingly, the no symbol was an unfamiliar sight in America back then. It was far more prevalent in Europe, where the diagonal crossbar always extended from the top left to the bottom right. Initially, the No Ghost logo followed that same rule, with the word Ghostbusters written along the crossbar. But Gross didn't like how that read. Since most Americans hadn't seen the no symbol before anyway, he decided to reverse it. Eventually, they chose to remove the word Ghostbusters from the crossbar altogether, but the no symbol remained in its backwards position. This explains why there are two distinct versions of the logo. European and Japanese posters went with the technically correct version. The backwards one, as seen in the actual film, is the American version. While the filmmakers had their logo, one thing they didn't have was their title. A kids' TV show called The Ghostbusters belonged to Universal, who owned the copyright. Columbia, the studio behind Ghostbusters, prepared several alternate titles in the event they would have to call the movie something else. When filming the commercial scene, different takes were shot where the actors said either Ghost Stoppers or Ghost Blasters. Columbia also considered Ghost Breakers and the original draft's name, Ghost Smashers. With the summer release on the horizon, Columbia had to start their promotional campaign. But they still didn't have the copyright to the Ghostbusters name, and no one seemed very happy with the alternatives. So the teaser poster would be hitting the market without a title. Just how do you promote a movie without a title? Find a powerful image that's unique and eye-catching enough to make the title unnecessary. In other words, the No Ghost logo. Paired with a mysterious tagline, this teaser poster perfectly set the stage for what would become a generation-defining classic. Columbia soon secured the Ghostbusters copyright at the cost of $500,000 and 1% of the movie's profits. Given the film's massive box office success, It worked out for everyone. Ironically, by leaving out the title, Columbia's teaser poster was meant to avoid a lawsuit, but that's exactly what the studio got. In 1987, Harvey Comics, publisher of Casper the Friendly Ghost, alleged that Mowgli looked too much like their character Fatso, one of Casper's mean-spirited uncles. They wanted $50 million. Referring to the lawsuit, Michael C. Gross said, "There are only so many ways you can draw a cartoon ghost." The courts agreed and the suit was tossed out. Well, that's our first episode of Into the Posterverse. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.